Welcome aboard the Ear to There podcast, the podcast that'll help you vacation like a pro in any Disney destination. For those of you standing, please sit down and hold on throughout our journey and get ready to learn how to have the time of your life. And now, here's your host, Phil Gramlich.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Ear to There podcast. I'm your host, Phil Gramlich. I am also the owner and operator of Ear to There Travel, which is a Disney-specialized travel agency. It is my job to take away all of that stress, all that anxiety, and the time that it takes to plan a Disney trip so you can focus on the fun things like having a great time with your family and friends and enjoying the magic. And I always need to mention that I do all of that, from planning your fast passes, your hotel, your dining reservations, everything. I do all of that absolutely at no extra cost to you. You can find this podcast, my blog, or request a free, no-obligation quote over at eartotheretravel.com. Oh, and please remember to join me each and every Thursday night at 7:30, and that is on Facebook Live. And the Facebook Live address is facebook.com/eartotherphil. So like I said, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time each and every Thursday night. We'll talk about the latest Disney news, the rumors, and really whatever you want to talk about each and every Thursday. So I'll see you, or you'll see me every Thursday at 7:30. Okay, this is episode number 63 for the week of April 3rd, 2017. Now, grab a drink, grab a snack, and as a famous mouse once said, on with the show. I always talk about how the attractions in Walt Disney World, and really in any Disney park, tell a story, right? So from the beginning of that attraction to the end of that attraction, you were told a story, and often you were actually an active participant in that story. But for many of the Walt Disney World attractions, actually most of the Disney attractions, that story doesn't start when you board the attraction. The story actually starts once you enter the queue of that attraction. See, the Disney parks have some incredibly detailed, amazing queues. And that's why we thought this week it would be a great idea to take a look at those queues with, well, our top queues in Walt Disney World. Here to talk all about his favorite and my favorite queues in Walt Disney World is the man, the myth, the legend, Carlos, don't call me Chuck, Rodriguez. Chuck, thanks for coming back on.
Yes, thank you very much. It is the opposite. I actually prefer Chuck to Carlos, but I think most people know that.
Yeah, well, I've never called you Carlos in my life, so I think I'm going to start just only calling you Carlos. Don't be chicken. I'm going to start calling you that. That's my new thing. That's what I'm never going to call you Chuck again. All right, so this is a good topic, right? Because I was thinking about it. This isn't going to be something like we're the first ones. We're not pioneers here. There are a million podcasts and websites that have covered the best queues in Walt Disney World. But I think we can kind of put our own spin on it and make it kind of fun. So I'm curious to see what you came up with. I know I had I was like, oh, this would be hard. Then I had 10 in 2 minutes.
I was thinking about this while I was making the list. I'm sure that, as usual, I think you and I, we definitely usually have obviously some of the same ones, and then some of them we have it for the same reasons, and then some of them we have it for our different individual reasons. That's all. Your
personal,
yeah.
My lunatic head and your kind of
also lunatic head.
Yeah, I was going to say your pessimistic lunatic head.
Yes, my cynical, pessimistic.
So this should be fun. All right, Chuck. So you're the guest, and you know what? You're going to steal one of mine off the bat, probably anyway.
Oh, I'm sure. No matter what, I think we're going to steal from each other.
Yeah, I think it's going to be. This is going to be one that we both can kind of go back and forth on. So, all right. So you go first. Go ahead. I'm ready.
Okay, then I will go start with one that I'm sure you have, but I'm doing it because of my personal, connection to it, which is Tower of Terror. Obviously, one of the best queues ever. Certainly one of the most themed queues ever when it opened in 1994. So, but my personal connection and why I love the queue is because my first full-time permanent job at Walt Disney World was with the Disney Institute, and I would coordinate one of the programs. And one of the programs would go to the Tower of Terror early in the morning on one specific day. And one of the cast members would go through the queue talking about all the details. And the one that I will never forget, and I still tell people when I go to the Tower of Terror with people, is that when you walk into the hotel lobby on the left, there's a table and with a Mahjong game.
Yep.
And we were told during that thing, whether it's true or not, who cares at this point? But we were told that Imagineering literally, sent and put out an ad or something for a local group of little old ladies who play Mahjong in the Orlando area who can come play a game, and then at some point in the middle of the game, they just said stop, and that's where they froze the pieces and nailed them or glued them down to the table or whatever it is. So because of that, and because of other things that I always heard during that part of the tour. That is my number one choice.
Yeah, you know what? I've heard the same thing, and I've heard over the years that cast members have kind of moved those pieces around. So now it's not officially where they originally left off. But apparently they were like champion players, and that's one of the cool things. That's one of those, and of course Tower of Terror was on my list. Of course it was.
I figured.
It's so well done, and I've said this on here before. I really think the experience starts when you first start coming down Hollywood Boulevard. I mean, it's there, it's foreboding, and then when you're walking through, the music is eerie, and then the plants are all overgrown, and the fountains outside are dry, and everything is perfect. And then I think it really goes up to, are you counting the pre-show as part of the queue? Because then you wait in line after the pre-show. So I think
for this specific topic, I was going to ask you that, but I didn't have time. I thought of that, and I personally only chose places with the queues where you're actually walking. So I did not think about pre-shows yet. Not where you're just standing and looking at something. No.
Right, because then you walk after the pre-show. You walk through the boiler room.
True, through the boiler room.
Kind of part of the queue as well. Listen, I couldn't agree with this one more. I love the queue. It's one of those things that we took Alexa through last year for her first trip, and she was 5, and I'm trying not her first trip, her first ride, and she was 5, and I'm trying to point out all these little things to her, and then I'm like, come on, dude, she's 5. Like, what do you expect her to get out of this? But later on, she was like, Dad, tell me about the Tower of Terror line,
right.
She's like, tell me about this and tell me about that, and why was it so dirty, and why was it so dusty, and yeah, it's the perfect cue. It's the perfect way to start the episode because it's just everything is cool about it, from the cups of coffee that were left to the luggage that was put down, and then it's been there for I don't know how many years it's supposed to be now, 80 years ago or 70 years ago. Everything is cool about that queue. I love it. I'm kind of bummed that the on this sign, the little I don't know what they call them.
You mean by the elevator?
Yeah,
doors?
where it used to say, what did it used to say?
The floors.
Haunted Tower, do not, or go back, or something like that.
Something, yeah.
The letters had fallen off the board into the bottom as you looked. And that's such a cool thing. And I wonder why Disney took that out. Probably because it was there's a bottleneck because everybody wanted to go.
I did not realize that was even removed. I haven't been there in a long time.
Yeah, it's not there anymore. So the letters, I want to look it up, and I don't have time to look it up right now, Chuck. We'll look it up another time. But I think it said Haunted Tower, do not enter, or something like that. And these letters had fallen off the sign into the bottom of the glass enclosure. It was very cool. But I'm sure it led to, 25 guests standing there wanting to see what was at the bottom of the thing, and they couldn't probably keep it. But yeah, the whole thing is great. Even after, when you get, I know this isn't part of the queue, so I'm cheating. But when you get off the attraction and you walk through the photo pass and all, it's still crazy themed, and the store is themed, and everything about it. Perfect attraction. I love that pick.
Now, this would not be a podcast with Chuck as a guest if I did not say anything cynical. So I'm going to start off right off the bat.
All right. You're getting going on the first one.
this actually might be too deep, but there definitely is conversation lately about the fact that we're at the point now where the whole themed queue and the setup for rides is lost on people because of Fast Pass and because people are on their phones and not paying attention to their environment until the second that they're on the actual sit down and let something move you moment. So I feel bad because I feel like Tower of Terror is one of those where it does not make half the sense unless you actually figured out what the queue and the story was trying to tell you before you actually got your butt down on the bench in the elevator. So it's one of those rides where I feel like it'd be a shame if people are getting to that point where they're just so selfish and small-minded and not paying attention that they're not doing anything except until the second that they're actually sitting down on the bench.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I completely agree because it is.
Yes,
you're right. The story starts so much earlier than the attraction. And
yes.
If you're not paying attention, like you said, when you're going through there's ride-out fountains outside, or the lobby, or walking to the elevator, you have no idea what you're missing out on. That's telling you the whole story right there. And
the point of Tower of Terror is not so that your stomach makes that weird feeling. That's not the point of the attraction. And I think more and more people don't realize, they don't appreciate or take advantage of the fact that that's not the point of the attraction.
Right.
To just make your stomach have that horrible feeling that now in my 40s I can't stand, but I used to love it in my 20s and 30s.
Which it might be the point of the new Guardians of the Galaxy breakout attraction out at Disneyland.
Actually, I didn't think of that, but that makes sense because if people these days are more familiar or appreciate the Guardians of the Galaxy characters and story more, then yes, it'll re-inspire them to pay attention to everything.
Yeah.
Instead of being on their phone until the second that they're sitting down.
Yeah,
I don't know.
And there's much less. It's much less of a queue out there anyway.
Yes.
It was for Tower in the beginning anyway. I don't want to badmouth that attraction before it even opens, but I wasn't one that was opposed to it. I just don't. I don't love it, but whatever. Okay, I'm going to go on to my
go.
First one, not my next one. And this is one that you might not have on your list, but this ranks pretty high for me, being the nerd that I am. And it's Star Tours over at Hollywood Studios. Why? And you might be asking yourself why. It's just because this queue is now, it's way better than it used to be back in the day, right? When you walk through in the beginning, it's a little boring, but then when you get into that first main, like almost show building, where C-3PO is and R2-D2 is in the speeder, and they're talking to each other, and then on the board in front of you, it's like you're at an airport. You see all the previews for the different lands that you could visit, and you see all the. I'm pointing up ahead of my head, so like you can see me doing this. Like I have my arms flailing, like hey, look. But above your head, you see like all the destinations where the Star Tours speeder could take you, and then when you go into the next room. There is the robot and I don't know the robot's number or name, but it's checking the luggage, but I think it's a really fun, really cool addition to the queue. And then when you get to the top of that queue, there's the other robot. Now I'm trying to remember who's like, is he like security or something where he's doing something else. He's not.
Yeah, because it was with the scanner, so definitely security.
So he's not as much fun as the luggage robot. That guy's awesome.
No.
And he tells his stories and tells jokes and complains about his job. It's fun. So
you're forgetting halfway between them when the ramp turns 90 degrees or even like 180 degrees, where you see the shadow of Star Wars characters just walking past that screen. Yeah.
It's really, really cool, that one. Where, it's like above your head and you can see R2-D2 wheel by. You see Chewbacca. You see, very cool. And what I was going to say is in that room, too, there's actually the retired and decommissioned robot that used to be the pilot of Star Tours, Rex. That was voiced by Paul Rubens. He's like in a box, like shut down. So when you walk past, make sure you get a picture of him. That's kind of cool that they left him in there. I just think if you're a Star Wars nerd, and even on the outside with the AT-AT outside and the Ewok Village, and it's right next to the stage for the Jedi training temple, hidden, whatever they call it now. What's it called now? Trials of the Temple? Jedi Training Trials of the Temple?
I call it annoying little kids dressing up like Jedis for 2 minutes.
And that is why you won't host your own podcast. So, and on what is it? On the fourth day, on May the 4th, I think they let adults dress up and do the pirate or the Jedi training. So that's great. I'm sure you would love that as well. But yeah, I love the queue for a Star Wars guy like me. And then when you get, the load area is the load area. It's the same. It's not really different. But the video that you watch before you get on actually
with the instructions.
Yeah, and it kind of tells the story of what's going to happen too.
And the voice is done by one of my favorite actresses, actually.
I don't know who it is. Who's the actress?
I always forget her name, but she's on that show Mom on CBS, and she used to be on The West Wing. Allison Jenney. Allison Jenney. Yeah.
I didn't realize that was her. That's cool.
Yeah, it's her. Yeah.
Wow, very cool. All right, so my first pick, Star Tours. I think if you're a Star Wars fan, you pick up on so many little like phrases and little subtle signs, and it's very cool.
Yes, and you were right, because it did not make my list, but only barely. Like, it was on my runner-up list. And I think it's only because I'm at the point now where I'm like, I don't even think about Star Tours anymore. I'm just thinking about what's going to open in 2019. So I'm like, Star Tours not even there anymore for me. But you're right. I've always appreciated it. And actually, I remember it was, so was it 30 years ago? 30 years ago this week that I first went on Star Tours at Disneyland. I was in spring break vacation in LA with my family. So that would have been April 1987.
Wow. I wasn't born yet, so I don't know.
Yes, you were. You're not that much younger than me.
It's hard to believe that it's that old, but yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right. That's crazy how old that is.
Yeah, it was April. I'm 99% sure it was April 1987. It had just opened, because I remember the line took forever, and there was some locals, and we're talking to them, and they were saying about how it's their first time because it had just opened like in January maybe of '87.
Wow, you have a good memory. I would not be able to remember those details at all. All right, Jeff, you're up for your next one, and I'm not going to guess because I think I know where you're going. So go ahead.
Really? Okay. I'm going to go with Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh, that's not where I thought. Okay, good.
Okay, and this is the reason. There's those books. I think there's one for Haunted Mansion and one for Pirates of the Caribbean. I had them for a while, but then I gave them to my niece or somebody borrowed them or something. But there were books that are done on the history of all the Haunted Mansions and all the Magic Kingdoms around the world, and also all the versions of Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah, I remember seeing those.
Great books. I really recommend them. And according to that book and according to some other blogs that talk about, obviously, Pirates of the Caribbean is still, the greatest dark ride of all time. And it just turned 50. And a lot of those things, a lot of the reviews and the analysis of Pirates of the Caribbean, they always say pretty much the same thing, which is, of course, Walt Disney World totally got shafted when we got our version because it's so much shorter and there isn't all that setup, from the moment you get on the boat until you're finally in the areas with the pirates, or the time period, or whatever you want to call it, if you're time traveling, whatever. The people have different theories. However, the queue obviously is superior because there really is no queue in Disneyland whatsoever. And so the queue at Walt Disney World really makes a lot of sense with the story and the fact that it's a fort, and also the fact that the fort and the queue is definitely inspired by the Castillo de San Marcos. I think that's what it's called. I'm sure somebody was going to correct me. Which is actually in the Bay of Havana, protecting Havana, Cuba for years, and of course my family's Cuban, so that's always mentioned whenever we go. And the fact that when you're going through the queue, it really is like you're going through one of those old Spanish forts, like the ones in Cuba. So because of that, because our queue is superior to the other Pirates of the Caribbean, even though the ride isn't, unfortunately, especially the beginning of the ride. That's why it always makes my list of some of my favorite queues.
And it's for me, it's the air conditioning. As soon as you walk in, it always seems so cold in there. I love that.
It is cold in there. It is cold.
And that's a great pick. And I love. There's little details in that queue too. Just kind of like the tower queue. There are the two skeletons down that are playing.
Oh, chess. And they're in checkmate.
A stalemate.
Stay on. Oh yes, because I guess that's why they died, literally, because they couldn't go the next move.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Apparently, that's where they died because there was no next move to be made. Yeah, it's a really cool pick. I love going through there. I love the. It's not. I'm trying to think. It doesn't have the level of like detail that the Tower King does, but it sets up. You're right. It sets up the attraction perfectly because, you kind of wind through it and then you enter like the weapons chambers where there's like guns up on the wall and the swords and it's really really neat. It's different, and you're right. Disneyland's queue, you basically wait outside in the sun and you get inside and you're on the attraction. Like there's not. When I was out there last year, it was during almost 2 years ago now, during the D23 Expo, and usually when you're at Disneyland, you can get on Pirates 10 minutes. It's not much of a wait.
Right.
I remember we waited like 45 minutes, and it wrapped. You know how it goes up that ramp behind it? We waited like up the ramp on the other side of Pirates. So,
oh wow!
if you were waiting for 40 minutes in Walt Disney World, you'd be inside and in the air conditioning the entire time. Disneyland's a little different story. Of course, the weather in Disneyland tends to be a little bit nicer than Walt Disney World, but at least in the summer months. I was out there. It's like 90 degrees in Anaheim, and in the shade, it felt like it was like 70. It's the weirdest.
Yes.
It's the weirdest thing.
I know.
Yeah, I agree with your pick. It's a really good one. So I don't have much else to say about that one other than I agree. It wasn't on my list, actually. I thought you were going with something else.
Oh, good. Then I like that because our first two were ones that were not on each other's list.
Except for Tower.
Cool.
Tower is definitely on
my
list.
Oh, I already forgot Tower. Yeah. It was technically in your list.
Yeah. All right, so I'm looking at my list because I didn't have it like a 1 through 5. I'm looking around. I have a number 1.
Right, I didn't put mine in order. I just kind of listed them.
All right, listen. I have a number 1, and I'm going with it right now. This is my
okay.
Because I love this queue, and it's Expedition Everest at Disney's Animal Kingdom.
Okay.
You didn't have that one on your list either?
That was also a runner-up. I thought it through, and I did not bother putting it on the list.
You didn't bother.
Honestly, it's a really dumb reason, but I almost always wind up doing Expedition Everest in the single rider line.
So you never
almost
see
99.9% of the time. So I know it's impressive, and I understand why it's appreciated, but I guess I just never really think about it because I always do the single rider line.
Yeah, fair enough. So what I like about it is Disney really went the extra mile with it to kind of set up this is why all these made the list, right? They go the complete extra mile here. You feel like you're in the Himalayas. You feel like you're in Nepal. You really do. Like you forget once you're in that queue. First, you go through like the outdoor part, and like there's the statues of Buddha, and there's all that stuff. And for some reason, people try to throw the coins and like the statues. I don't know why. Some guests have a thing with coins in Disney, and so like it's like
and the stupid hair bands when you're on the ride itself when it starts going before it goes backwards.
The hair bands. I don't know the hair bands.
When the train obviously is going up to the part where the rail is broken.
Yeah, where you're spoiling.
You never notice on both sides. There are a gajillion of those little round hair bands that I guess girls can take off their hair, and then a million of them all time. Even after they do like a cleaning and a rehab of the attraction.
People just throw them off up there for some reason.
Well, I guess you fling them like rubber bands.
Oh no, I've never noticed that. That's really strange.
Yeah. Notice it next time.
Gives me something to look out for the next time I go on. So I don't know why. Like on that attraction and like Thunder Mountain, wherever there's like little buckets or cups, people try to throw pennies. Like, are you that bored that you have to throw a penny into a cup on a? Well, there you go, Chuck. Exactly what you were saying of how bored people get not to appreciate the detail.
Well, and I always thought before phones and iPads, yes, you had nothing else to do except even that or worse, like actually try to scrape, your name into the wall. You know what I mean? Like that actually becomes vandalism. So I think now with the fact that people are distracted with their phones and their iPads, I think that's actually an improvement on that.
Well, it's funny. I got to get back to Expedition Everest. I can't go off on this crazy tangent, but do you remember the old at the park that shall not be named, the old King Kong attraction?
Yes,
of course. We kind of go through the subway.
Yes.
And
Yes.
in the subway, in the queue, there would be graffiti, right? But that
Yes.
graffiti was designed by designers to be there. I
Yes.
remember on several occasions people having markers and you like making their own graffiti on the wall. And
Right, so people began to add to it.
yeah, and the Universal team members would come over and be like, "Hey, like that's not for you. What are you doing? Like you can't do that." So people didn't understand it. All right, so that was just weird. So, but I like, and then you get inside the like Expedition Everest office, I guess, where you're quote unquote like kind of signing up to go find the Yeti, and they have so many cool like posters and pictures and artifacts, and they have the huge Yeti print in there that looks like it's footprint that looks like it's real, that was made like a cast, and there's Yeti hair and Yeti byproducts that things that kind of came through the Yeti, and it's just so cool. And then my favorite detail of the whole queue, and it's at the load area, so maybe it's technically not the queue, but do you notice when a train pulls up and its steam comes up off the front of the train?
Yes.
Okay, those are roller coaster cars, right? It's not a real train.
Yes.
So there's no way for them to make steam. But to make it authentic, Disney has steam pumped up from under the track to make it look like that steam's
Yes.
coming off the train. Come on, now that is cool. Like they're making
that's quite the detail.
it's such a detail to make that it almost finishes it in your head. It connects all the dots in your head. Like I'm going on a train, not a roller coaster, up Everest to find this mythical creature that stays tethered to a pole and doesn't move anymore. He just kind of stands there. The Yeti used to move. If you don't know, if you're listening and you don't know what I'm talking about. He used to actually swing down and reach and try to grab your car. He doesn't do that anymore, which is kind of a shame. But
it worked for the first 3 months that the ride was open. Apparently,
I luckily got to see it. I was there in cast previews, so I got there.
And there's already rumors about what happens when the impressive Navi animatronic in the new boat ride is gonna fail.
Yeah.
There's already talk about that.
I've seen that, and I can't wait to see that in person.
That
looks awesome. So I hope it works through May, because I'll be there in mid-May, and that's when I get my preview. All right, Chuck, you're up for your next one. Sorry to kind of move it along.
Okay, so I'm going to go for a very quick reason. And again, something that obviously only technology and today has added, because it never would have occurred to us that this would have existed back the first 35 years that we were going to Walt Disney World. But Soarin', that game that you play with the screens and on the app on your phone, it is so much fun. It's like a geography-based game. I actually love it. I actually have gone on the full queue instead of getting Fast Pass just so I can play that game for 45 minutes. I really, really enjoy it, and it does make the time go by fast, and it's great because everyone gets separated into teams, and then you start noticing when you're standing around who around you is on your team and who around is doing well, and then on the screens it'll say that you answered that question the fastest, and you'd be like, hey, that's me. I really, really enjoy it. And me, cynical me, who does not usually get impressed by these things, but I really, really have enjoyed what that game that they added to the Soarin' queue.
So I haven't played it.
I figured because you've only done it probably with Fast Pass.
Yes, because we get when we come, we have little kids, and we do a Fast Pass, and we haven't gotten a chance. I'll tell you what, the original queue for Soarin' got old in 20 seconds.
Yes, it did.
So I'm glad they improved it, because when I remember, again, cast previews for Soarin' and being in a queue and feeling just completely and totally underwhelmed with what they had there. It was just stuff on the wall that you had to read.
They did add an interactive game, but it was boring. I did not like it, and it didn't even seem to work that often.
Yeah, so from what I know and from what you've said here, 'cause I have no firsthand experience with it. Yeah, it sounds very cool. I wish I could add more, other than the queue before it was very, very boring.
Yeah.
But this one, yeah, that's awesome. I got it. Now I'm coming down by myself in a couple weeks, and then again in May. So maybe I'll have to kind of You know what? Who am I kidding? I'm not going to go in that queue. I'm going to be running around like a crazy person, taking pictures. You know, it's got to be a work trip. It's got to make sense. So I got to take pictures, take videos, all that kind of stuff. But I will try.
If you don't get fast pass for Soarin' and you want to do it, then just do it. Because also, you know, not only is it's been a huge improvement for Soarin', for waiting for Soarin' on standby, because not only is there that game that makes it more interesting and more tolerable, but also because of the third theater, the standby queue, at least from what I have noticed, has definitely stayed within that like 45-minute range and not the 2-hour range.
Yeah, it's definitely way more manageable now than it used to be.
Yeah.
Which I like, and that's again, the adding of the third theater really. Same thing with we might get to this one later. We probably won't. Toy Story Midway Mania 2 had added the third.
Yes, right? And it is more manageable now.
It is, it is. Like that's not. I'd still recommend getting a fast pass for it, but it's not
obviously
one that you're like, okay, we're not doing unless we get a fast pass. You can wait in line. That looks like it hovers between 45 to an hour, where it used to be 90 every time. So that really helps with that, with the wait. So we'll see if I wait for Sora next time. I love it. I thought they did such a great job with the attraction. I love the new film. The only thing I found that was a little weird is if you're off to the side, it bends. Did you notice that?
I haven't been to the side yet, but I've heard
that. So if you're off to the side, like the Eiffel Tower is at like a 70-degree
angle. Oh, right.
Which is a little weird. I'm like turning my head, but whatever. It's not that big of a deal. You still enjoy it. All right. So for my next one, I'm going to try to take the technology completely out of it. And this is one that doesn't have a whole lot of technology. And it's a newer attraction, and I just think it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of fun, and I really like it, and it's Enchanted Tales with Belle. And I'm not going up to the pre-show and the second room. I mean just the queue. So,
really?
Yeah. Let me explain. Let me explain to you
okay,
why.
go.
And don't be all cynical. Just let me explain to you why.
The reason is lame, just because while you're standing around, your kids are so excited.
Yeah, that's part of it. I know. God, can we get some joy out of this man, please?
It's like my MO now. I can't help it.
So here's why I love it. Right, it from the outside it looks like not the new film. It looks like Maurice and Belle's cottage from the film. Does. You walk up, and it looks like it. You have the windmill outside, and you walk. The outside part of the queue is kind of lame. I'll admit, there's nothing really going on out there. But once you get to go inside, and you're in the cottage, and you see, the things from Maurice's workshop around in that first room, very cool. And then you see the picture of Belle and her mom on the wall. I love that. I love that cool touch. It's something that's not in the animated movie. She's not discussed at all, her mom. So I really like that addition to it. Another thing that I really, really like in that queue that you might not even know about, I'm hoping you don't, but you probably do, is take a look at the book that is open on the desk when you walk in, right?
Oh, I think I did, but I don't remember what it is.
So in the movie, in the animated movie, during the opening song, not opening song, but it's Belle, during the song Belle.
The Bonjour, yeah.
Yeah, that song. When she's singing about Prince Charming, here's where she meets Prince Charming.
In chapter 3.
Yeah, she won't discover that it's him till chapter 3. A goat is there, and it takes a bite out of the pages in her book.
Yes.
When you're in the queue, look at that book. There's a bite mark, and there's pages missing from that book. I think that's so cool.
That is actually
super, super low tech to no tech in that room, but it tells this whole story of the beginning of that movie while you're walking through that room. I just think that's the kind of stuff that, again, if you're on your phone, you're taking pictures, you're dealing with your 2.5 kids, you're not gonna see that. And I try to point out to my kids, and I know you make fun of me, but I try to point out to my kids in that cube, remember in the movie this happened, and look, that's what Maurice was building in the one scene, and it's because they really appreciate that stuff, and they're going to grow up to be complete Disney nerds like me anyway, so I might as well point it out to them. That's why I like it. And again, then you talk about going into the workshop and the the magic mirror.
Right, then it becomes the pre-show, not really the queue.
But, that's awesome, too. But that's why, for me, Enchanted Tales with Belle. Low tech, no tech, whatever. I just think it's really, really well done.
Okay, I have nothing to add to that.
This is a podcast where we don't respond to each other. Like, we disagree. So go ahead. I disagree. Completely disagree with you. Now it's my turn.
No, I don't. I can't disagree.
No.
You did remind me, specifically about that book. So I get why you said it. It's a very small part where you're technically you're still walking in the queue before the pre-show, but you're actually physically inside the cottage. But yeah, the details. Yeah, I get it. I get it. I can't disagree.
All right, your turn. You can't disagree, even though you're like, I guess I disagree, but it's his podcast, so I'm not going to be rude.
Okay, so for my next one, I'm actually going to prove that I'm not completely a cynical person who doesn't care about nostalgia, because I know I have said many times about, I don't mind when the Disney parks and Disney attractions are constantly evolving, or something closes, or something gets replaced.
Let me clarify. You said you wouldn't mind if they took the Jungle Cruise out, because
Correct.
Now you have the Jungle Cruise restaurant.
Because I'm sure, because there's the restaurant, and that's a huge amount of theme park real estate, and yes, I would be okay with that.
What about when
I
they make
genuinely
the
would.
movie and The Rock is in it, and then they add, Dwayne The Rock Johnson animatronic to the attraction?
I mean, yes, if they completely redid it, or almost redid it, like Pirates of the Caribbean, where they wind up doing the movie and they have more indoor scenes, and maybe they take out every single one of those 1971 animatronic animals and replace it with projections.
Here. You're digging yourself a deeper hole. Go ahead. What else do you have?
So to prove that I don't always feel this way, I am going to say the Enchanted Tiki Room, and I know I'm a little bit cheating here, because we did say only when you're actually walking, but because it's a show, your walking is really just the huge pre-show area where you're just going into 3 different rows until they let the doors open, and then you continue walking into the theater itself. So the fact that area, there's so little the Magic Kingdom that has not changed since 1971. And once in a blue moon, even I like to think like, how nice it was back in the 70s and the 80s when I used to come here as a child and when things were so different. So because that has not changed at all, including what you hear, the music, the background music, the little bit of narration that goes on between the two parrots when the thing opens, with the waterfall stops and the thing opens, and it does even actually what they talk about actually does refer to the Jungle Cruise with the animals nearby and whatnot. I'm actually going to say I really enjoy that, and I sometimes maybe I go to the Tiki Room just for that part. I'm not going to lie to you. So I like the fact that it's one of the few things that has not been changed at all, and so it is kind of nostalgic, and it just reminds you of what Magic Kingdom used to be 40 years ago. So yes, go ahead, make fun of me of the fact that I'm actually not being cynical with this.
No, I'm not going to make fun of you. I like the answer.
Yeah, no, I knew you would. I knew you would. And I'm being genuine.
Are you sure? Because the one time you told, what did you say? You were on and you said it was the best. What was it? The sounds or something in Walt Disney World, and you said the sound of happiness, and then you had me completely.
Oh yeah.
And I completely bought into it, and then I was
yes.
This doesn't sound like
if we had recorded this yesterday when it was April Fool's Day, I may have gone all the way and done something, but no, I was being genuine.
So speaking of that, what are you going to do when they change the pre-show? Because I did hear that Moana and Maui are being added to Walt Disney's Enchanted Tiki Room. That was my joke yesterday for April Fool's Day. As you're listening to this, we are actually taping this on April 2nd. We're getting very... Yeah. We're very close because this is going to be released on April 3rd. So I did not have a podcast, so Chuck was awesome enough to jump on at the last minute and record with me. But I did put out there that a fake article that on April Fool's Day that Moana and Maui was going to be called, I don't know, the Enchanted Tiki Room starring Moana.
Yeah.
And that they were going to, that instead of the huge... what do you call it? But is it from that comes down from the ceiling, the chandelier of birds, whatever it is? It was going to be Maui.
The Birdmobile.
Birdmobile. Yes, the mobile. Thanks to Rolly Crump again, designed it. One of my favorite Imagineers, and not just because he was on the show. But Maui was going to come down from the ceiling instead, and some of the songs would be taken out, and it would be new Moana songs going in the attraction. And I think what tipped people off that it was fake was that I said at the end for the finale of the attraction, a living, breathing, real Moana would walk through the theater live singing "How Far I'll Go." That was my finale, and I said, and I also had a comment from, and it was from Joe Rohde, the very famous Disney Imagineer, who said, I said, when I contacted him for comment about this story, he simply said, "You're welcome."
Yes.
That was kind of a tip off that it was fake. I have to tell you, Chuck, I had a lot of people upset with me yesterday.
Because
they thought it was real. They thought it was real.
And they were disappointed?
Yes. Very disappointed.
See, when I read it, I immediately, I knew it had to be. And I knew it had to be an April Fool's thing.
Of course, because it was coming from me. Really.
Well, maybe for that reason. But even if I had seen that on another blog, because, well, okay, no, this is not where I'm going with it. I'm going with why people would have thought that it was a true story. And that goes, again, with my cynical side. Because I'd be like, of course, Disney's going to go the cheap way to bring a movie that just came out, which I really did enjoy. So I would love any attraction based on Moana because I really did love it. But they're going to go the cheap way and do a second time where the Tiki Room winds up being changed to be, into a whole different thing. So I would have been like, yeah, I believe it. So, but actually, so I'm not disappointed when I find out that's not what's happening.
Right.
I'm like, oh, thank goodness. Maybe there's a chance that there's going to be a real attraction.
That's how I would have been too, but yeah, I got some.
Oh, but people were disappointed. Oh,
I got some unhappy people, yeah. But then they realized that it was a joke and kind of, but the intention wasn't to upset. It's April Fool's Day. The intention was to make people laugh, and so next year I'm going to have something. Well, we'll see. I'm saying it now. It's April 2nd, 2017. Next year, when you see a post from me on April Fool's Day, April 1st, please
take it with a grain of salt. Correct.
Don't believe it. All right. So I think it's my turn, right?
Yeah, your turn.
All right. I have two more.
Okay.
So this one, staying in the Magic Kingdom, not going very far. Under the Sea, Journey of the Little Mermaid, for me, awesome queue. Very, very well done. It's one of the new ones from New Fantasyland. I love the crabs in the queue. They're a lot of fun. They're interactive. They're like on little video screens that you can kind of interact with them with your hands and make them do things and play little games. It's a lot of fun. I love Scuttle in the queue that tells you a little bit of the story. But really, it's just such a well done queue with the waterfalls and just everything. And the shipwreck, and it feels like you were in the film. The movie and the film is a film. In the film, it really feels like you're there. I love that. And it has the two coolest hidden Mickeys on Disney property. Coolest ones. It has the Steamboat Willie hidden Mickey, which is nearly impossible to see. But it's like you have to look at it one certain way, and the rocks and the water line up to make a Steamboat Willie hidden Mickey. It's awesome. And the other one is the hidden Mickey that only appears one day for like, I don't know how long, but it's like 20 minutes out of the year. And that's the, on Mickey's birthday, the three circles that kind of go through the queue, and the sun kind of goes through the queue to make a hidden Mickey only on Mickey's birthday, which I think is the coolest.
I did not know that. So only on November 18th every year, unless it's cloudy, I guess.
Yeah. So the way it's above your head, and the way these three rocks are formed make a Mickey head. The sun passes through it, and it makes the Mickey head on Mickey's birthday for like 20 minutes. And people wait, like people get in the queue and just stand there waiting for the sun to hit that exact.
How did they figure out the math?
I don't know.
So that it will only appear
I don't know.
That's like something on an episode of Big Bang Theory. Like, I don't really understand.
It's amazing, and it's real, and look it up. You'll see the pictures. It is
Okay.
the most elaborate hidden Mickey Disney's ever done. I think it's so cool, and the attraction's great, too. But that queue is so well done as one of the new queues. And another one that that's a much more higher tech one where, with the crabs and all that stuff, it gives you something to do while you're waiting. You don't have to it doesn't really tell the story because the story is completely in the attraction, if that makes sense.
Yes, yeah, there's no need for...
Everybody knows the story of Little Mermaid.
Right, and the attraction just basically takes you through the story, unlike other attractions.
Yeah, it's the whole movie in, 45 seconds.
Yes.
Pretty much. So yeah, look that up, Chuck. And if you guys are listening, look it up. It's a really cool...
I thought I've heard something about it, but yeah, I guess I just didn't really realize.
Yeah, so anyway. All right, Chuck, you're up for your next one.
Okay.
And you're probably your last one, because we're 43
Oh,
minutes.
and weren't we going to do a bad one?
Yes.
The ones that we
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
like? Okay, so then I'll do a good one now, and then the bad one next?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, all right. So my good one, almost the same reason as for Soarin', Space Mountain. I really do enjoy the games that they put in there. Before you get to the part with the, where you're just going back and forth for the final part of the queue. So that interactive game, I think that's great. Yes, of course, it has its problems. Like, when there is not a need for people to be standing in that area for too long, so that it makes sense for everybody to stop, play the game for a few minutes, and then keep walking. So I do see a lot of challenges there, and people getting confused and people getting upset and just going around each other because they're like, "Why are you stopping?" And then of course I usually do Fast Pass for Space Mountain. I rarely do Standby, so I don't get to play it often. But I think that I like where they were going with that, with adding some sort of a game or adding something that you do while you're waiting in line. I really enjoy that.
Yeah, again, it's another one of the ones too that we've been saying, like, technology adds this whole new element to that queue. Because what it used to be is, the windows that did absolutely nothing when you kind of walk past them. And if you remember AC Slater on the screen, do you remember?
Yes, of course.
Mario Lopez was like the face of Space Mountain for a while, which I always kind of thought was weird because it was when he was kind of at the height of his fame. And you're walking through and you're like, it's Slater. Like, wait a minute. He's busy calling Zach Morris preppy all the time. I don't think he could be handling this kind of job. It's like Gary Sinise in Mission Space. Like, as Capcom, I'm like, you're Lieutenant Dan. That's who you are. Like, you can't be.
You can't be this also.
No. And I know he's an actor. I understand it. I'm an adult. But still, I don't get it. Anyway, sorry, that's my rant for today. But yeah, no, that's a cool one. The Space Mountain queue has kind of been weird over the years. Like, it's gone through some strange kind of iterations, and the music has changed and it's different. And I don't know. I do like it now, though. I like the games. I don't get to play it much because, again, kids, none of them are tall enough to ride. So I'm kind of, if I'm doing Space Mountain these days, I am doing the Fast Pass.
Yeah, Fast Pass by yourself. Yeah, that makes sense.
All right, so, man, I had two more good ones, but I want to pick one, and I'll just throw the other one out there as an honorable mention. Okay, yeah, my last one, I think, one of the really most well-done queues, and it's better, well, I don't know if it's better now, but it's not the original queue, but it's Haunted Mansion. And I'm surprised you didn't mention it. I thought you definitely would.
It was on my list, but I assumed that you would. But I'll wait till you give your reasons why you love it, because I do have one challenge with the Haunted Mansion queue.
So here's why I love it. It's for me, it's another one of those attractions where the almost like the experience starts before you even get near the attraction. Like, right. As you're walking toward it, it has that whole big area kind of sectioned off for that attraction only. You see the mansion up in the distance. You have I guess it's a wolf or whatever it is, howling in the background.
Right.
And it's just, and the awning and the gate that you kind of walk through that has the words Haunted Mansion on it, and all that stuff is very cool. I want to say I like the interactive part of the queue. I don't love it, but I like it. I like when you walk through and you play the games and you do the music and the organ and the new tributes to the Imagineers that are in there. I really like that stuff. I think it's cool, and it gives the kids something to do while you're waiting in line, which is good. So, but what I really see, and I'm calling this part of the queue. I know that I'm cheating, but when you go,
you mean the actual actual foyer?
Yeah,
okay.
The stretching room. I know you said yours was.
I know, but then I wound up with Tiki Room. Technically, I wound up cheating.
Right,
anyway.
right. So you have to walk after the stretching room. So
correct.
To me, I think that's one of the coolest, one of the greatest, like in queue, because it's still in the middle of the queue. So it's the greatest in queue experiences in all of Walt Disney World. That you go in there, and the ghost host, and then all the effects and the stretching and everything. It's awesome, and. There's every time it gets dark in there, how many people sincerely scream at the top of their lungs? Like, there's like a couple people that have never done it before. Almost every time you're in there, but who do you think in my family screams the top of their lungs every time that those lights go out?
Amy.
Yeah. My kids are fine, completely fine, never a peep. They see the guy hanging from the rafters after that scene. Never even cry, not a peep. Amy screams every single time, like she's never done it before. Every time. So that for me is worth waiting in queue right there. And you don't miss it if you get a fast pass, which is cool.
True.
So yeah, so that's for me. That's why the stretching room really makes it. But the whole thing is fun. But I do love that stretching room. I love that part of the attraction.
I agree completely. I was focused. I wasn't even thinking about, once you actually go inside the building. But so that the extension to the outdoor queue, my challenge with it since day one, because I literally saw it being constructed and got to go through that area like on the first day that I opened it. I love it almost too much. I think it's such a cool concept, and the actual interaction of the couple things that you can do, especially the part with the sound and with the and the little drawers opening and closing and stuff, and also the part that you do where you finish the rhyme from Manuel Leota or whoever is saying it in that one part. It's actually really, really well done. What I find logistically is that the queue for the Haunted Mansion, most of it you're in is just a mass of people.
Yeah.
But then when you get to the new part, it funnels into single. So you actually, even if it's a long line, you're actually going past the new stuff pretty fast. So you really can't play with it. And I think that's just been the challenge for me. Like I feel like even because I know exactly how to play it correctly, unlike most guests who probably don't figure it out for the first couple times they go through it. Yeah, they're just hitting and touching stuff and they have no idea what to do. No matter how long of a line there is, once you get to that part, the line is moving pretty fast, and you can't just hold up everybody because everyone's going to freak out. So that's just my observation since they opened it almost 7 years ago. I think they opened that area.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
So that's what they need to do. They need a new cast member that can stand in there and teach people how to play the games.
Yeah.
And I think what I'm hearing here is that you're volunteering to be that cast member.
I'm volunteering.
You volunteer as tribute to sit outside in 95-degree weather in the Haunted Mansion tuxedo and explain to people how to play the games. I think that would be a good job for you. You'd be very patient.
Very. Extremely patient.
So really quickly, before I get to my bad one, the one we didn't mention, my one honorable mention is Splash Mountain. It's a great queue. I don't know.
Of course.
It's the only reason it really didn't make my list was the heat. Because if you're outside this summer and it's a long line, it can get smoking hot.
Oh, it's unbearable.
Waiting in line in Splash Mountain or for Splash Mountain. But once you get inside and the little effects and Brer Frog rocking on his rocking chair and all that stuff and the music, and it makes it a really cool queue. So all right, that was my honorable mention. All right, Chuck. So your bad queue. I'm curious as to as to what you pick for this one.
I still, even at this moment that I'm about to say it, I'm between two. So one is kind of a boring reason why I hate it, And one is I think a good reason, but you might actually even have this one. But I'm going to say it. I've decided in the last second I'm going to say it. I'm going to say Nemo and Friends at Epcot.
Oh, wow. No, I was
because
not
of the darkness.
It is pretty pitch black, yeah.
I mean, I get it. The whole, it's been so long. I've been in Florida in the bright sun, and then you go in and out of these indoor attractions. And I get that your eyesight has to adapt and all that kind of stuff, or you have to switch from glasses to sunglasses or vice versa or whatever. That's fine. But it amazes me how many times I have gone into that queue and how many people are stumbling or literally stop and start to feel the walls as they walk slowly through.
I know.
And it's actually kind of funny after a while. I mean, I start to actually enjoy watching people's reactions. And it takes a while.
That. I know, it does. And
it was like that before Nemo, so it's been that way since 1986 when it was the original ride.
Yeah. You can't see a thing when you walk in there. It's amazing.
No. So I just find it hysterical that's what happens for the first minute or so that you're in the queue.
I think even further. I think even when you're up by the boat, when the boat or the butt is over your head, it is kind of dark there too. You're still like trying to get your, I always have the kids by the arms because, and Jack always wants me to carry him through because they get nervous. They're like, I can't see a thing in here. So wait, I have a little quick trivia question for you. I don't know if I've asked you this one before, and for the listener, I don't know if you'll know if you're listening to this, on the treadmill or in the car or wherever you are right now, walking around the parks. That would be really cool. Listening to this in the park. So, what they're on the lifeguard stand in the queue when you're in that first room. There's that lifeguard stand, and it has a number and a letter designation on the lifeguard stand. It's 5A. What does that 5A stand for?
You have asked me this before. You've told me this, and I cannot think of it right now. I can't. I'm blank.
So it is. It's a tribute, an homage, if you will, to the previous tenant of that spot. And the 5 is actually it's a 5, but it's, if you get a little creative looking at it, it's an S, and it's actually SA, and it's for Sea Base Alpha. That's kind of a little tribute to the attraction.
That makes sense.
So so there's your drop of knowledge for me for the whole podcast. All right, my bad one. And this, I don't know why this queue annoys me the way it does, because I love the attraction, and it's Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger Spin. It is the most boring, the lamest queue Disney has done in the last 25 years. There's nothing. It's just things painted on the wall.
Until you see Buzz at the end.
Sure, but half the time.
I get it.
Half the time, Buzz is covered up with a curtain because he's not working. So you hear Buzz's voice as you're getting on the attraction, but you don't see Buzz at all. And let's be for real, that time has passed that figure by. Like if you go on Frozen Ever After and see those animatronics, you're like, whoa, Buzz is...
That was the first one, though.
The
projection face as opposed to,
It was, but
a mechanical face.
Buzz is a little long in the tooth these days, to be honest with you. And it's just, it's metal bars separating you. There's nothing creative about it. And it's paint on the wall. That's all it is. And it bothers me. So... And that paint has not done well. It's faded. No, people have scratched it off. It's in bad shape no matter what they do. Yeah. So listen, I'm obviously an enormous Disney fan, and I usually don't have a lot of bad things to say about it. But that's something I just never liked and never thought, kind of, it's just, for the queues in, and even in like Tomorrowland, like you were saying, the queue for Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor is even way better than that. Like it's just, and the Space Mountain queue, and it's just a lame queue. It's nothing, and I get it. They didn't have a lot of room to do something in there, but at least be creative. Have something hanging from the ceiling like claw machines. I don't know. It's just lame. It's just my feeling on it, and I'm not a negative Disney person, but that's kind of
no, you're not. But I mean, honestly, with the fact that with all these subtle secret changes that have been happening to Tomorrowland lately, where maybe one of these days soon they'll say that the whole land is being changed. It's very possible that attraction's on its way out, because when it opened, it was very sophisticated. It was something that we had never experienced before. But there's been so many advancements to that concept of an interactive ride since that either they've got to get rid of it, because between that and Monsters Inc. next door, that is a huge amount of indoor real estate, theme park real estate. So that could be one really great attraction in a building that's already been existed and built since 1971.
Right.
So either that, or they could fix it and turn it into what we're seeing with the new version in the Shanghai Disneyland, which is very well done, very advanced.
Or it could be a Maui and Moana Space Ranger spin.
In Tomorrowland. Can you imagine?
You go through with the same gun, and instead of having Zurg, it's just Maui standing there. That's all they do. That's your overlay.
I could see that be more possible with instead of Stitch and Stitch Encounter, be Moana Encounter.
It's going to be whatever they do is going to be cool. I know it. And they're with all the money they're putting in for Star Wars Land and the proposed money that's going into Epcot, and it's going to be great. I think I have no doubt.
I don't doubt it.
I'm hoping the Wreck-It Ralph attraction does happen that we've all heard about over at Stitch. I would love that. With the new movie just being announced, I think it's a good possibility.
Ralph wrecks the internet.
Oh, it's going to be great. I'm so excited. So excited about that. All right, Chuck, I got to go. I got stuff going on today.
Of course.
Thank you so much again for coming on. And
you're welcome.
Again, I'm going to bug you right now again on the podcast. Start a blog or a podcast so I have something to plug for you, because you need something at the end for me to go. If you want to find Chuck, you'll find him at Publix in Orlando.
You're absolutely right.
He's usually at Publix or at Disney Springs. You can find him there. All right, Chuck, thanks again for doing this. This is a lot of fun.
No problem. Thank you.
And that is going to do it for this week's episode of the Ear to There podcast. Thank you again so much to my guest, Chuck Rodriguez. Chuck is always, Carlos Chuck Rodriguez. Chuck is always awesome, and when I get stuck and I'm slacking like I was this week and I haven't recorded a podcast, Chuck is always awesome. He's always there. He always completely rearranges his schedule so that he can help me. And I am eternally grateful for it, because I want to put one of these out each and every week because it's fun, and I get a lot of feedback and people like getting these episodes every week. So thank you again to Chuck Rodriguez. You are the man. Thank you for always being a great friend and for being there at a moment's notice. It is greatly, greatly, greatly appreciated. It is crazy. Life gets in the way an awful lot. The travel agency thing is my full-time job, and it's been busy lately. But my other full-time job is this podcast. I love it. I love doing it each and every week. So I'm so grateful that I was able to not miss a week and put this episode out there. And secondly, thank you. Not really secondly at all. Like, really, you're tied for a co-first place with Chuck. Thank you so much for listening this week. And thank you for listening each and every week. Again, it's always greatly appreciated. I love putting these out there. I love that people listen and give me feedback and are enjoying the episodes. I mean, it is because of you, the listener, that I am getting Jim Cummings on next week. I am thrilled beyond belief to do an episode with a true Disney icon in Jim Cummings. I mean, he's Tigger, he's Winnie the Pooh, he's Darkwing Duck, he is Monterey Jack from Chip 'n Dale's Rescue Rangers. He's Disney animation royalty. So look for that episode on April 10th, 2017. That will be episode number 64 of the Ear to There podcast. And as I say each and every week, if you did enjoy this episode, please just tell someone about it. If you're still listening, you are a Disney fan, you probably know other Disney fans. Tell them about the show. Let them know how much of a big-time Disney nerd that I am. I hope you love it, and I hope they love it as well. Thank you in advance for spreading the word about the show. And just remember, there will be a new episode of the Ear to There podcast each and every Monday morning, as well as a new episode of the Ear to There podcast, Walt Disney World Word of the Week, each and every Wednesday morning. So thank you again so much for listening. Until next time, have a great week. Bye-bye.